See, I have 4 people in the room. Hi, everyone. Please let me know if you can hear me well. Give me a thumbs up or a heart or something in the comments, the chat, I mean. Okay, I don't see anyone in here, but we're going to get started nevertheless. So, I see one person in the chat. If you're in the chat, please give me a thumbs up. Let me know that you could hear me. All right, so I'm going to get started because I don't want to waste anyone's time. Welcome to How to Craft the Effective Brand. This is a high level webinar that seeks to highlight steps in the process in developing a brand's strategy and identity. So I hope you all can. Oh, I see. Thanks, Zoom. Thanks for joining us. So some of you may know me, some of you may not. My name is Toya Burris. I'm your host. I have 16 years of marketing and creative experience. And today I'm the creative service manager for an international real estate brand. And I also run a solo design studio. So we're going to jump right in. I want you to tell me, when you think of a brand you love, what's the first word that comes to mind? Drop that in the chat. Feast. I hear that. Active. All right. So, okay. So, what I want to explain here is that feel of the brand. Yeah, that's good. All right. So, what I want to explain here, a brand isn't just a logo, it's the gut feeling someone has about your business. So, Zoom, you're right on point with the feel of the brand. Thank you. So, in this phase, we're going to discover the key elements that will become the foundation of your brand. So, what I would like for you to do is open up your brand book if you have access to it. And if you look at, let me take a quick peek myself. If you look at page 4, that's where we talk about identifying where you stand. So, the first thing we want to think about is audience, right? And we want to focus on their aspirations and who they want to become, because this in this phase, this is all of the things that you need to consider when you're thinking about who you're talking to and who your brand is targeting. Next, you want to look for white space. And when I say that, that is basically, what is everyone else doing, right? And you want to do the opposite of what they're doing, because that's what is going to be the differentiator, the thing that separates you from your competition. And then personality. If your brand was a dinner guest, right? Who would they be? Would they be bold, a minimalist, nurturing? So if you look at page 4, right? We're talking about your like your businesses or your brand strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, your threats, right? And then what are the things that my competitors are not doing, which we talked about earlier. And then on page 5, we get into the audience and competitor focus. So this is where you're identifying who you could easily sell to, who are the top established competitors. So that's like, who are the people that are doing the same thing, the people or the brands that are doing the same thing that you're doing, and getting to know what they're doing so that you are in touch with what's going on in your industry and the market, right? And then it's also important to like just listen to your customers and what they say and how did they live, and what is important to them, what their values are. So when you have time, I don't expect us to go through all of this now, but when you have time, I want you to take the time to work through some of these exercises in the workbook. So the key takeaway is, when you think of a brand you love, what's the first word that comes to mind? And that first word for you, Zoom, was the feeling of the brand. But outside of that, it's basically, you can't stand out if you don't know who you're standing next to. So you need to know your competitors. You need to know who is also in the same market as you, in order for you to make yourself unique, you need to understand that and use that information to your advantage. So give me a thumbs up if that makes sense, or a heart. All right, thanks. So moving on to the identity. So in this phase, this is usually the part where a lot of people that I work with, they want to skip right to the look and feel of the brand, but we need to do the preliminary steps, which is the stuff we talked about in the first phase, right? Understanding your audience, your market, your competitors, and differentiating yourself amongst that. So now we're getting into the naming, right? So naming, and what I also want to point out is your unique positioning statement, UPS, right? So you want to keep it scalable, right? So basically, you want to keep your naming, and your positioning statement needs to be scalable. So this formula that I have here is what I usually do with clients when we're working together. And it's an exercise for you to put together your own positioning statement. And the formula is, we offer product, we offer product or service for target audience to primary benefit or action. So what we're gonna do later is see some examples of this, but hold that thought for now. We're gonna go into the visual vibe, which is where a lot of the fun is, right? So colors and fonts. Color is more than just pretty, right? The point is, colors trigger in people or in their subconscious emotions before the person reads a single word. So when you look at a brand like mine at toyaburris.com, the colors aren't accidental. If you want to build trust, you look at blues and neutrals. If you want to spark energy and creativity, you look at oranges or bold yellows. So ask yourself, right? How do I want people to feel the second my website loads? So in the comments or the chat, let me know how you want people to feel if they were the first touch point was your website. It's okay if you use like one word. All right, so we're going to move on to fonts, right? So fonts have personalities just like people do. So I want you to think of fonts as the outfit your words are wearing. Serif fonts, that's the ones with the little feet, feel established and traditional. And sans serif fonts feel modern, clean, and tech forward. So if your font is hard to read, your message is hard to hear. So keep it simple and legible. So now we're going to talk about brand voice, and that's basically words, tone, and personality. So your brand should sound the same on a caption as it does in an email. Your brand voice is the bridge between your visuals and your audience. Are you encouraging expert or the no nonsense strategist? If your visuals are minimalist, but your captions are full of emojis and slang, there's a brand fracture. So we want a seamless experience when it comes to the brand's voice. So now we're going to get into looking at bad versus good positioning statements. So these are some examples. Again, if you see the framework on page 8 of the workbook, it is we offer product or service, right, for target market, right? Let's go back because I want to. So we offer product or service for target audience to primary benefit or action. So now we're going to look at example of that. And this example is for a fake tax company, a sample, right? And this it reads, Tax Hub simplifies your tax season. We don't leave you to handle it yourself. Instead, we provide professional filing services to make the process effortless for you. So in this example, would you consider it good or bad? Let me know in the chat, guys, if you think it would be a good example of a positioning statement or a bad example. And then if I'll give y'all a few seconds, and then if we don't know, it's cool. We'll just move on, and I'll give you the answer. Bad. Good job. You're right. It's bad. So So the tax hub sample example is close, but it's not so great because it's missing what? It's missing the target audience. So in here, I went ahead and highlighted the primary benefit in action and then the product or service. But again, as you probably noticed, that thank you, Ronke, it's missing the target audience. So now we're gonna go on to the next example, which is by Topicals, which for the ladies in today's live, you might be familiar with this brand. So Topicals is this is their positioning statement. Topicals is transforming the way you feel about skin through effective science-backed products for chronic skin conditions and mental health advocacy. So I want to hear in the chat if you think, thank you. Glad you're here. Let me know if you think this is a good example or a bad example of a unique positioning statement. Call it UPS. Let me know in the chat. Good or bad? Good or bad? Yeah, it's very clear and direct. So I'm going to say good because one, it has their product and service. So the product is topicals. Yes, includes all the key signals. And then primary benefit or action. So it's transferring the way you feel about the skin. And then the target audience. This is the target audience. It's wordy, but it's clear, it's concise, it makes sense. So, in your time, as I mentioned earlier in the workbook, there is this exercise. So, I encourage you to take the time to build your own unique positioning statement. It helps with getting clarity about one, your product and your service, its benefit, right, or action, and who you're talking to. So now we're going to move on to execution. And in this phase, we will go over how you can get this done, right? So hiring a pro, do it yourself gets you started, but a professional designer gets you paid. So professionalism creates premium pricing. So a professional designer doesn't just give you a file, they give you a system. A system means you never have to guess what font to use or where your logo goes. It's the difference between looking like a hobbyist and a household name. Now I want to get back into brand system here and again mention that a logo is a file, a brand identity is a strategy, and the system is your toolkit. So your style guide. It's not just pictures. And your brand must be a living system that can grow. So don't build a box you'll outgrow in like 6 months. That will not serve you. So the key in this section is a brand looks different. A brand that looks different on every platform is a brand that people don't trust. And the reason why people don't trust that is because the inconsistency fractures your brand's identity and its presence. And so people are not going to want to invest or trust that it's going to look shifty to them. So now we're going to get into some questions and this is the QA time. So you feel free. We went through this much faster than I thought we would. So please let me know if you have any questions in the chat, and I will be more than happy to answer them as quickly as possible. I also want to remind you that the workbook has a lot of good exercises in it for you to work through your brand. And these exercises are imperative. This is the things that I do with clients myself when we're building their strategy and their brand identity. So please feel free to ask me any questions and I'll do my best to answer them while I have you. Any questions, anyone? Yes, the system. I is familiar with systems because I developed the systems for Shapely, which is her brand, and so the systems has definitely helped in helping the brand grow and build trust. So, okay, I have a strong brand identity, but how do I turn that identity into a strategy that connects with my audience? Okay, that's a really good question. So, I think it's great that you have a great brand identity or strong brand identity, but probably the reason why is not, if you feel like it's not connecting with your audience, is because maybe you're not speaking to your audience in the way that resonates with them. So it might require more research. You can try things like little small groups, asking them questions about maybe like how you communicate with them, and does it hit or is it a miss. um, you can also look at your communication channels, like your marketing, like the channels and strategies that you're implementing right now, and look at the things that are working. So, like, for example, if you're doing like email campaigns and you're noticing that people are like opening things, but they're not clicking, maybe it could be so many reasons why that's happening. It could be maybe the emails are too lengthy or too wordy, you know what I mean? Or maybe what's the content might need to be adjusted. So I think sometimes what happens with a lot of people when they might like the way their brand looks, because that's what we're talking about when we say brand identity, we're talking about how the brand looks. They probably skip some steps in before we get to that, which I mentioned earlier. um, you need to probably revisit the foundations and also revisit the strategy point, which is your audience, being clear about who you're talking to, and getting clear about how to talk to them and where they are. So it's going to require some research. I hope that answers your question. Any other questions, guys? No, you're welcome. You're welcome. I've developed a premium side to my brand and trying to implement the new feel. Okay. And it just proves that I need this. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Okay, so we got a good question from Zoom. Okay, so Zoom's question is: I've developed a premium side to my brand and trying to implement the new feel. Okay, that's great. I think when you implemented the premium side to your brand, but you're trying to implement the new feel. So we're kind of working backwards here because you already have like your brand and your service, but you don't have like identity. It sounds like put together, identity system put together. So again, we're gonna start from the beginning. We're gonna work backwards. You're gonna go look at the foundations. You're gonna make sure that you're clear about your audience, right? And I'm gonna go back here so we could look. Okay. So, right, we're going to look at our audience, we're going to look at our competitor white space, and we're going to define the brand's personality. And then when you get into the identity part, you have your name, make sure you're clear about the brand's positioning. Show my cursor so you can see. All right. Make sure you're sure about your brand's positioning, right? Then you got to figure out the colors and the fonts that you want to use. So you're going to define those things, and that's going to help you with how you present to your market and the pre. And I think too, because it's a premium brand, when people like if you put premium, that means it's high level, and your identity has to look and feel. It has to match that. So make sure maybe you want to use a sans serif font if you want to do modern, like a modern feel, or a classic font. Maybe you want to do black, because black a lot of time is usually connected with luxury. So these are just some things to think about, but I do encourage you to take those steps, or you can work with someone like me to help you develop your brand's identity. Let me see if I missed anything in the chat. It just proves that I need the systems. Yeah, the systems, Ronke, the systems is basically your identity system. So it's like once you get clear about your font, your color, you got clear about your audience, how the brand speaks, and all those things. That's when like someone like myself, we put together a brand standards and guide. So that helps the not only the brand, but whoever the brand works with or partners with, you share that guide with them like, hey, this is how these assets should look and feel. This is how our brand speaks. The brand, unless it's a personal brand, the brand is not you, the person. The brand is like its own living entity, if that makes sense. And then let's see, these styles. How do you align two different ideas with commonality into one brand? How do you align two different ideas with commonality into one brand? Okay, can you give me more information, D? Because that's a interesting question, but I don't think I'm clear. Um, can you give me more like context? Oh, okay. Thank you. That's helpful. So to me, both are not that different. One is service and one is product. So I think if you're clear about if you're going to align them, you have to figure out where the product falls within the service. Like, is it service first and then product? Because you see that a lot. I've seen that with trying to think of a good example. Okay, look at a brand like Ulta, right? Ulta is in the business of selling um, cosmetics and products, but they also have the service of you can go to Ulta and get your makeup done. You could go to Ulta and get your hair done. So I would look at them as a good example. That's a competitor. It may not be a direct competitor because they're really large, but that would be a good example of a business that's kind of similar where you're offering the stuff, you're offering beauty services, and then you also want to start selling a cosmetic line, that might be aligned with your initial business, which is the stylist business, if that makes sense. So it's actually going to be easier than you think. I think you just need to connect them, and you could do that connection through maybe the logo that is used for your stylist company. Maybe the name of the product is the same name, or even if it's not the same name, let's say it's I'm throwing out a name out here. Pretty by whatever the stylist company's name is. Just giving an idea. Okay, yeah. Okay, I'm glad that it makes sense. But I do encourage you. It's if you sound like you've been doing your stylist business for a long time. So if you have a clear understanding of who your audience is and probably what their needs are, so I think just it might just be getting clear about what the products are in your cosmetic line, like what makes it unique. What makes it special. So I encourage you to do the positioning statement so you could get clear about that. And that exercise, I think, is on page 8 in the guide. Let me not tell you a lie. Yes, it's on page 8 in the guide. I also included some tips in the guide using AI if you just need some help. So you can use AI to help you with that. You'll see them. Any other questions? We have time. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. That was a really good question. Any other questions, guys, or anything that doesn't make sense that we talked about? More than happy to revisit it and clarify. All right. Well, if there's nothing else that anyone has, that's fine. You could always email me too. Um, I want to give you guys your time back, but before I do that, I just wanted to say thank you again for joining me today for the How to Craft Effective Brands webinar. And don't let the blueprint collect digital dust. So make sure you are using it, and visit toyaburris.com if you would like to book a discovery call so that we can talk about if you need help with developing your strategy or your identity. More than happy to help. And finally, I just wanted to say your brand is an investment and it's not an expense. So thank you for being here. And I look forward to seeing or working with any of you in the future. And enjoy your day.